All right, let's dive right into one of the most fascinating periods in American history, the mid-1960s. This was a time of just incredible, soaring ambition, but it was also an era of really deep, powerful contradictions.
And this quote, man, it just gets right to the heart of it. We have this image of post-World War II America as this golden age, right? Unprecedented economic growth. Everyone's doing great. But that picture was hiding a pretty ugly secret. For millions of Americans, that reality just didn't exist. They were completely left behind, trapped in this crushing, persistent poverty.
So that leads to this huge, haunting question. How could this be happening? We're talking about the richest, most powerful nation in the world at the time. And yet there was this massive, systemic poverty just hidden in plain sight. How is that even possible?
Well, the spark that lit the fuse for everything that came next wasn't a protest or a politician's speech, it was a book. Michael Harrington's The Other America was an absolute bombshell. It just shattered this myth of universal affluence, showing that poverty wasn't about individual failure. No, it was a deep, systemic problem, totally invisible to most comfortable middle-class Americans. And get this, a copy of that book landed right on President Lyndon Johnson's desk. It became the catalyst for his entire domestic agenda.
Now, to do something as massive as what Johnson was thinking, the timing had to be perfect. And you know what? In the mid-60s, it was. There was this incredible, unwavering faith that the federal government could and should solve the biggest problems. The thinking was, hey, if we can go to the moon, if we can fight a Cold War across the entire globe, then surely we can use that same power and know-how to fix things right here at home. That confidence, plus a massive Democratic majority in Congress, was the perfect storm to launch something huge.
So what did LBJ do with all that political momentum? He went big. He launched what he called the Great Society, one of the most ambitious legislative agendas in American history. The goal was nothing less than to wipe out poverty and crush racial discrimination, and he planned to do it with a really clever two-pronged approach.
Okay, so let's break down this plan. You can think of it as having two main pillars. Pillar 1, that was all about opportunity and health, the economic stuff. Pillar 2 was about rights and education, tackling those fundamental building blocks because they understood you couldn't fix poverty without also fixing racial injustice.
And the programs that came out of this first pillar, they were absolutely revolutionary. I mean, think about it. With Medicare and Medicaid, the federal government literally created a health safety net for the elderly and the poor overnight. That was huge. And things like the Office of Economic Opportunity and the Food Stamp Act, these weren't just handouts. The idea was to build actual pathways out of poverty.
Then you've got the second pillar, which delivered some of the most monumental, history-changing laws this country has ever seen, the Civil Rights Act of '64 and the Voting Rights Act of '65. These didn't just tweak the system, they fundamentally rewrote the rules of American society. And then there's Head Start. So much more than just a preschool program, right? It was this holistic attempt to level the playing field for low-income kids from the very beginning, with education, nutrition, and health services all rolled into one.
But wait, there's more. While all this is happening in Congress and the White House, another revolution was taking place just down the street. The Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice Earl Warren, was moving in the exact same direction. It was like they were providing the constitutional scaffolding for this whole new era Congress was trying to build.
Take a case like Gideon v. Wainwright. The court said that if you're accused of a crime and can't afford a lawyer, the state has to give you one. Think about what that means. It ensures that justice isn't just for the wealthy. It's a perfect legal mirror of what the Great Society was trying to do with economic opportunity.
And then, at the very same time, you get the absolutely earth-shattering ruling in Griswold v. Connecticut. This is the case that established a constitutional right to privacy. It basically opened the door to a whole new world of personal freedom and autonomy. And yeah, the aftershocks of that decision are something we are still fiercely debating today.
And if you want to see the court's power to reshape democracy itself, look no further than Baker v. Carr. Before this case, you could have a situation where a tiny rural district had way more political clout than a massive city. It just wasn't fair. This case established the principle of one person, one vote, forcing states to redraw their maps. It fundamentally shifted political power to where people actually lived, literally changing the political landscape of the country.
So you see what's happening, right? You've got Congress and the courts both working to tear down these old, unequal systems. But that spirit of reform didn't just stop at the water's edge. At the exact same time, a third, massive transformation was happening. A complete overhaul of America's immigration laws that would change the face of the nation forever.
And when I say a total break, I mean it. For more than 40 years, American immigration law was built on a deeply racist quota system. It was designed, very explicitly, to favor immigrants from Northern and Western Europe and basically slam the door on everyone else. The 1965 Act came in and just wiped that entire system off the books.
So, what did they replace it with? A brand new system built on two simple priorities. Number one, reuniting families. And number two, attracting people with professional skills that the country needed. It was a total philosophical shift, away from judging people by where they were from and towards judging them as individuals and families. And the impact, it was immediate and it was profound. Just look at this chart. The demographic makeup of who was coming to America just flipped. Suddenly, new Americans were arriving in huge numbers from Asia, from Latin America, from the Caribbean. This wasn't just a change on a spreadsheet. It was a transformation you could see and taste and hear. It changed our cities, our food, our music, our politics. And it's a change that is still shaping the nation today.
And remember, all of this is happening with the Cold War looming in the background. So immigration policy was also a foreign policy tool. A great example is the Cuban Adjustment Act. It was a way to offer refuge to people fleeing Castro's communist regime, sure. But it was also a powerful piece of propaganda, projecting this image of America as the open, welcoming society in direct contrast to the closed, oppressive Soviet bloc.
Okay, so we have all this incredible, optimistic, world-changing domestic reform happening. But there was a shadow growing on the horizon, a conflict half a world away that was about to cast a dark cloud over everything. And that shadow, of course, was the war in Vietnam. And here's the real tragedy of it all. LBJ truly believed America was rich enough to have it all. He thought we could afford both guns and butter, that we could fight a war in Vietnam and fight the war on poverty at home. But he was wrong. The sheer, staggering cost of the war just sucked all the air out of the room. All those great society programs, designed to grow and tackle these huge problems, they were starved of money almost before they even got off the ground.
So when you step back and you look at the whole picture, the Great Society, the War in Court, the immigration overhaul, what you're really seeing is the absolute high watermark of American liberalism. This was the peak moment of belief that the government, through big, ambitious action, could fundamentally make society better and fairer for everyone.
And that leaves us with this huge lingering question, one that's just as relevant today as it was then. Did the war on poverty ultimately fail because the ideas behind it were flawed? Or did it fail because it was starved of resources and never really given a fair shot to succeed? That's the debate we're still having, and it's the complicated, powerful legacy of this incredible, turbulent time.